Hello, it's been a while. The reason I've been absent, other than the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing, is I've been preparing for my big trip to the Toronto International Film Festival. This is my first time attending not only TIFF, but a film festival in general. I haven't even been to VIFF because of COVID and I wasn't here last year anyways. I figured, why not start my festival journey off with a bang and take on Toronto? And I had a pretty crazy time and so much happened and I have so much to say, so I think I'm gonna get right into it. I don't know if this is interesting for anyone, but I went on a plane from Vancouver to Toronto where I watched someone else watch Blackberry and then decided to watch it myself. For a third time. It felt like a fitting movie because, you know, Matt Johnson, Jay Baruchel, Toronto legends. I made it to Toronto in my hotel very late and yeah, that was my day. My first morning in Toronto was pretty rough, honestly. I was super nauseous, I didn't sleep, I have a really hard time traveling, but I got it together and I made it to opening night of the festival, where I saw the first ever North American screening of The Boy and the Heron, the latest film from Hayao Miyazaki, who came out of retirement to make this movie. First of all, this movie is gorgeous, some really great contemporary animation techniques, some of Ghibli's best in my opinion. It's also really funny at times, especially these scenes with this parakeet army. But I gotta say, not my favorite Miyazaki. It didn't really seem to have a clear vision and it kind of lost me at a point. The characters didn't really feel that fleshed out, especially the main character, and I just had a hard time connecting with it emotionally. I will say I have always loved his more simple work like Kiki's Delivery Service, Whisper of the Heart, rather than his more intense, surreal ones. Like, I'm not even a huge Spirited Away fan, though it is a beautiful movie. Regardless, I felt so lucky to have witnessed this, and I'm so happy there's another Miyazaki movie in the world. After Boy and the Heron, I went right over to the premiere of Gonzo Girl, Patricia Arquette's directorial debut, and had an awesome time! I was so into this from the beginning, thanks to its really great opening sequence and fast-paced editing. This movie feels like a collage of a lot of different filmmaking styles, and I really liked that for the most part. I thought the camera work was excellent, great directorial work from Arquette, total breeze to watch, and oh my god, that's Willem Dafoe in front of me. I kinda got emotional in this moment because very few characters mean more to me than Klaus from Life Aquatic, and there he is, he's just talking in front of me. And with that, that was a wrap on an amazing day one. Day 2 started a lot smoother. I had no choice because I had to head out to my first film of the day, Hey Victor, directed by Cody Lightning. When the TIFF lineup came out and I saw this, it instantly grabbed my attention and I added it to my list immediately. I love me a mockumentary, and despite some criticism I saw for the movie, I really wanted to see for myself, and I'm so glad I did. I had a great time watching this. Tonally, it felt a bit similar to another movie from this year, Theater Camp. They both have this Christopher Guest Waiting for Guffman thing a bit. I just thought it was so funny, and I can't wait to see what Cody Lightning does next. He is such a talent, and he is a fan in me now. Canadian film is just crushing it this year, man. I then rushed over to the Princess of Wales Theatre to catch Anna Kendrick's directorial debut, Woman of the Hour. It was pretty hard whiplash going from such a funny movie to a more intense and dark one, and maybe that affected my viewing experience because I don't think I loved this. All the acting is great and Anna Kendrick just shines. I love her so much, but I felt like there was something missing in a way, which is a shame because it's such an interesting story and I was so excited for this. This is nothing against Kendrick's directorial chops. I actually think that aspect's great. Maybe it's a writing issue. Anyways, sucks Anna couldn't be there, as I bet this was a really important moment in her career. I then went right from Woman of the Hour to the premiere of Dumb Money, Craig Gillespie's new film. This was in my top 3 most anticipated for not only TIFF, but the entire year. I got my ticket about 30 minutes before the movie was set to start, so I ran over to Roy Thompson Hall, I sat down and had probably the most fun of the entire festival so far. Like I said, this was a very highly anticipated film for me. One second, I need to get in uniform for this review. Okay, I'm ready. I really like Craig Gillespie's style. I was a huge fan of Pam and Tommy despite not caring about the subject matter whatsoever, and I actually thought Cruella was pretty great for a soulless Disney live-action film. And obviously I, Tonya. I mean, what is there even to say? Plus, it stars my 2 favorite guys, Paul Dano and Seth Rogen, and I will literally watch anything those guys are in. And yeah, I'd say it pretty much lived up to my expectations. I'll touch on that again, but first, Craig Gillespie's use of comedy in his films just feels so natural, and in enhances the story so much. This movie is also just so engaging. This crazy, bizarre story with Gillespie style is a match made in heaven. Also want to give a shout out to some of the performances in this film, specifically Paul Dano. Paul Dano is always incredible in everything he does, and this is no different. I also thought that Pete Davidson was really good. Like, I genuinely looked forward to every time he was on screen, and I usually don't feel that passionate about him. The soundtrack is so fun. Some of these music choices so perfectly represent the time period and really take me back to all the way in 2020. But no, I didn't think a movie would ever inspire me to listen to WAP in my free time in the year 2023. But here we are. It's not without its flaws though. My biggest complaint would probably be that I thought some of the actors were a bit underutilized, especially Seth Rogen. I get it's probably difficult to put a lot of character depth into some of these Wall Street personalities and legal reasons and all that, but how do you have a comedy movie where Seth Rogen is one of the least funny or interesting people in it? Like, I love the guy so much, but I don't really get why it was him in this role. I kind of felt that way about Sebastian Stan as well, but by the way, I knew almost nothing about this story before watching this movie. I didn't realize how recently it happened. It felt like I saw the press release for the casting, like, when this happened. And that's where I found out about this whole thing. I don't watch the news that much. But yeah, back to what I was saying. This movie's just a blast, and I'm probably gonna catch it again in its theater run. And despite not getting to see Rogen or Dano in person, it was worth it for the premiere just to be in this huge venue with all these people. Okay, there we go. After Dumb Money, I left the theater, and then I heard the free Nickelback concert next door, and I just booked it out of there. And that was day 2. I didn't have any movies until 5:30, so I decided this would be the day I'd, explore the city a bit more, check out some shops, some cool places. I checked out Queen Street, where I finally saw the Rivoli. Oh my god, I can't believe it's real. You don't know what it meant to me to be surrounded by such history. Went back to King Street, checked out the Tiff shop, where I ran into my guys from the Cars cast, Karsten and Jeff, who were so nice, and I was so happy to meet them. Saw Cheer Routine advertising the movie Backspot, checked out the Aubreys for a couple minutes before I headed to my first film of the day, American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson. There wasn't a lot to go on from the description I saw on the TIFF site, but just based on the cast and the little info there was, it really grabbed my attention. And let me tell you, what an amazing surprise! I don't mean surprise like I thought it would be bad, but in the way that I had no idea what was gonna happen. It's kind of hard for me to describe this movie. It kind of gave me Sorry to Bother You vibes, just based on the satirical approach to the subject matter. Honestly, I don't know if I want to say much about this movie, because personally, I think this one, going in cold, is great. But yeah, I just thought this one was really great, and I definitely recommend catching it when it gets its wide release. I then saw Quiz Lady, directed by Jessica Yu, starring Awkwafina and Sandra Oh. This is a Hulu movie, I believe? Though you can very much feel the streaming service vibe of this one, I think it would actually benefit from a theater audience. It's so jam-packed with jokes and these absurd bits that I feel it would do better in that setting. But yeah, it's a cute comedy that I think a lot of people enjoy. That's kind of it, and also Jason Schwartzman's in it. Just a disclaimer. For you guys, this is day 4. For me, this is probably one of the greatest days of my life. Just wait and see. I gotta be honest, at this point, I was getting a bit burnt out. I'm not a big crowd person, so it was pretty draining being around so many people on King Street every day. But I love movies, so I just pushed through it, and I went to my first film of the day, Close to You, directed by Dominic Savage. I was super interested in seeing this, as its premise was a bit relevant to my family. I'm also a really big Elliot Page fan, and this seemed like a real passion project for him. And let me just say, wow. This movie is made up of really long takes, some really intimate handheld camera, improvised dialogue, and I'm a huge fan of movies like that. It just feels so raw and really adds to the intensity. The main thing I need to say about this movie is it's very difficult for me to feel such disgusting cringe and then such overwhelming joy in the same runtime, and this one pulls it off. Yeah, this one just really hit me emotionally, and I think that was the case for a lot of other people, because this was the longest applause of any movie I'd ever seen. But yeah, definitely see this. This is probably my top 3 of the festival. After Close to You, I was off to my most anticipated film of the festival the whole year, and a movie I've just been waiting for years. Taika Waititi's long-awaited next goal wins. If you don't know, I was massively obsessed with Taika around the start of the pandemic, and his work just got me through so much. And though he's kind of fallen out of favor in the last few years, becoming this corporate Disney guy a bit, I think all of his more independent work is incredible, so I was really looking forward to this still. So yeah, I saw it. I had an incredible time, and it was just a dream come true for me to be in the same room as Taika Waititi and see him. However, now that the excitement's worn off, I feel I can give a more fair and objective review. Next Goal Wins has a lot of great moments. The signature lighthearted Taika humor is a delight, and I'm a sucker for it. But it felt so focused on only that it was kind of missing that emotional punch that most of his other work has. And it didn't really commit enough to being a full-on absurd comedy either. I do think the focus on Jaya's story was really well done, but every other attempt to flesh anyone out felt shallow. For me, I think Taika's just become too influenced by Hollywood, whether he knows it or not, and his silly charm comes off as a gimmick a bit more so than genuine. I then had my first Midnight Madness screening of Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brick's teen slasher Hell of a Summer. I was so tired and sore, but I was really looking forward to this, so I pushed through, and thank God I did. Because who walks past me on my way to the line but Matt Johnson?
Oh my God! Matt!
And if I haven't made it clear enough with the references in this video, Matt is my favorite director. He's just such an inspiration to me as a creative, and I never want to bother anyone, and especially don't want to take a photo because it feels so lame of me to do personally. But I couldn't let this opportunity get away from me, so it worked out. He was so nice. Oh my God, I can't even believe it. After that miracle, I just had to go and I sat down in my seat where I didn't even know what to do. And that definitely affected my viewing of this, because I just had so much adrenaline. I don't think I would have liked this as much if I saw it in any other setting, is what I'm saying. But just the energy of the Midnight Madness audience and everything, this was just such a fun time. I am genuinely so impressed by so much of this movie. It's so cool to see people my age just make a full-on movie and have it be a big thing. And obviously these guys have so many more resources than I would have, but it was still cool to see them go for it. I also found this to be so funny. Like, there are so many good jokes in this. The writing is definitely the standout, along with Fred Heckinger. This guy is just so committed, and he's a delight to watch the entire movie. My only criticism is that it feels a bit generic. I feel like the campy, get it? Camp. It's a camp movie. Kind of Scream vibe it was going for wasn't hammered in enough, so it felt a bit cheesy and cliche at times. So yeah, that was my very normal day 4. I started my final day at TIFF with Backspot, the debut feature from D.W. Watterson. I really liked this. It's super engaging. I thought the camera work was excellent. Really interesting perspective on the world of cheer, and I thought the performances were incredible. I mean, Devery Jacobs and Evan Rachel Wood are great in everything, and this is no different, but I thought the supporting cast were just phenomenal. I also thought the music was great. It's got a lot of cool techno music. Watterson is a DJ outside of film, and they did a lot of the music for this. This movie also made me like the song Come On Eileen, which I previously despised. I just hated everything about it, but now I'm rooting for it. After Backspot, I made my final attempt to get tickets to the Stop Making Sense restoration with Talking Heads and Spike Lee in attendance. I had spent the majority of the previous 3 weeks trying to get tickets to this thing, and my last resort was checking out the Rush line, which I knew would be impossible, but I had nothing else to do. So I'm walking to Scotiabank Theater, and I end up trapped accidentally behind this barricade, and I didn't mean to go there. I was trying to get to the Rush line, and then these black cars pull up, and Spike Lee walks out, and then all of Talking Heads walk out, and I'm just right at the front. I'm 10 feet away from David Byrne. I was just so shocked by that experience, and obviously very satisfied, so I just left and spent those couple hours walking around the city. I ran into Matt Johnson again, so this day ended up almost topping the previous one. Later, it was time for my final film of the festival, Ethan Hawke's Wildcat, starring Maya Hawke, and it was okay, I think. I liked the format the story was told in, I guess. It was mostly stories by Flannery O'Connor, with the characters being played by Maya Hawke, Laura Linney, and other supporting cameos. Definitely a really interesting concept for a biopic, but I think it was just executed really weirdly. It was a bit all over the place, and you're kind of just thrown into it. I also hated the cinematography, and yeah, I've been pretty tame with my criticism so far. Horrible. I really didn't like the color grade, and I hate movies with that shallow depth of field, blurry vignette look. Ugh. I will say I didn't mind the performances. Though Maya Hawke has zero nuance in this role, I think I ended up liking her portrayal. I also really enjoyed Cooper Hoffman's small role. I became such a fan of his after Licorice Pizza, and so I was really excited to see his follow-up to that. But yeah, I think when you have an actor-director, the film's gonna be a bit more performance-heavy, and this is where that shines a bit. But other than that, I was just not into it. It was cool to see all these guys in person, but I kind of ended up wishing I saw something else. And that was my first TIFF. These 5 days were such an incredible and insane experience. I feel like the luckiest person on earth, and it just blows my mind thinking about everything that happened. But I will say, as amazing as it was, it took a real toll on me, both emotionally and physically. I don't know, maybe that scene just isn't for me, or I need to go during the second week when it's more relaxed. But so worth it, so worth it. I just thought I'd mention that in case other people feel like me. And now the question I've been asked many times since I got home, and the one that I'm really struggling to answer: which movie was my favorite? You maybe guessed it from the amount I talked about it, but my official TIFF pick is Dumb Money. And I almost feel bad about picking such a corporate biopic movie that comes out this week compared to all of these great small independent movies I saw, but I just enjoyed myself so much at the screening, and I really value that. And just because this is my pick, it doesn't mean it's the best thing I saw at all. As I already mentioned, Close to You, American Fiction, those are really great movies that you should definitely go see. Also, American Fiction won the People's Choice Award. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing a glimpse of my journey. If you saw any of these movies, I'd love to hear what you thought in the comments. And yeah, see you in probably another 6 months when I have something else to say.